Okay, let's agree on this. No explodes, and I'm not gonna do the stretching.
Okay, Gucci, we Gucci.
Okay, let's go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Before the Valley. It feels good to be back, Pizza, right? Doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. Can you tell the audience why weren't we here last time? I think you showed the whole story on our social media profile on Instagram. But yeah, do tell us what happened exactly.
For those of you that didn't see, because I assume many of you saw it because I was spamming our Instagram page because it was a very emotional occurrence in my life. So basically, just after launching the last episode, like putting it online, I spilled very hot tea, but for Apple it was chilled water over my laptop, on top of my laptop. And I was like, no, it's fine. But then I saw some of the trackpad going crazy, some of the keys going crazy. I'm like, no, this is not like every single time when I spill something on top of my laptop. This is critical situation. So I had to turn it off. I had to bring it to Apple. And afterwards, it's been a week and a half without a laptop, which I think was the least productive week that I've had since a very long time. But a lot of stuff has happened since then.
Yeah, so what do you think about you being that dependent on your laptop?
Well, I see it not as something negative because I use it for work. If I had access to the library, let's say, and to computers there or to another laptop, I would say that I wouldn't be like thinking that much about my laptop. It's mainly work related. That's is the dependency. It's not that, oh, I want to chill, I want to watch Netflix or whatever. It's just that working on your phone is not as convenient as on your laptop. So I don't know if it's bad or good. What do you think?
Well, I think it's very accidental. So even if it's bad, you shouldn't put too much focus in preparing on how to tackle, the situation if you don't have a laptop, just because I doubt it's gonna happen too often. So
hopefully,
other than that, if I think about it, it's probably bad. I mean, you shouldn't be that much dependent on a tool. Yeah, but as I said, it's not too big of a problem, I think.
But everything is online. That's also something that's bringing to the impacting the dependency. Like our business is online, and working online. Yeah. So it's kind of like where it all comes from.
Well, yeah, you can use your phone then again. It's inconvenient, but yes, technically you can use it for almost everything. So yeah, but I mean, as I said, it's not such a huge issue, so.
Yeah.
But it's nice that you have your laptop so we can record this podcast now.
Yeah, when I got it back and I saw it, I was like, oh, you're so beautiful, because I didn't even send a photo because they replaced.
So, yeah, let me say, I just see hearts. That's what I see. I don't see anything else. I check my phone, I see hearts. It's like, well, why is Nikolai sending me hearts? I open, and you see when there's a lot of emojis, you don't see the whole message. So what I see is my baby and hearts. I'm just like, what's going on? So I scroll and I see a picture of his laptop in his bed.
No, it was on my desk. On the bed is very dangerous because it can fall off.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
And
so you're extra cautious now with.
Yes. I don't know how long it's gonna continue, for a week or so, but I mean afterwards I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, okay, whatever. Now I'm even putting liquids on my nightstand, not on my desk, because it's dangerous, as I saw it already.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you want to jump into the? Yes.
Yeah, that was what I was gonna ask.
yes. So we, great minds think alike once again. Yeah. Exactly. Let's jump into the first topic of today's podcast. Do you want me to introduce it?
Yeah, sure. I think you have a recent personal experience with this, so it's a good way to introduce it, I think.
Yeah. So, as I said in the introduction, a lot of stuff has happened in this week and a half when we were missing. And one of the things that happened is that I started working as a part-time employee in a digital digital marketing agency. And the way I got this position was through my network, through Casper, who is a friend of ours who we're always mentioning, and who actually Peter is going to be moving in with very recently, soon, in 2 days. And through him I got a referral for this job. I had an interview with him. He described me to his to the senior people in his company, those above him, and eventually I got the job. And we thought that your network is something very important for your success and for the stuff that happen in your life. And we thought it is a good topic to discuss in today's episode.
Yeah, I was thinking yesterday, I have a question for you, more of I would say a technical or a definition question. Would you say, what would you consider a network exactly? Would you say your closest people, let's say your parents or your best friends, would you consider them part of your network? And would you say that's relevant to today's topic? Or is it more of a reciprocal are we just looking at reciprocal relationships between, business associates or even like friends, but the business side of friendship and the more technical?
Well,
what exactly is it?
I think that it's everybody around you. Like, that's your network. That's the people that you can reach out to, no matter if that's your brother, if that's your father, or if that's your colleague at work. That's your network. Like, that's the people you know, and that's in one way or another you're exposed to. That's my view on this. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. I mean, as I said, it's a definition question, and it's gonna bring our conversation, I think, in a specific direction. But I do like this perspective of a network because I think that's what defines it best. It's like your immediate surrounding as well as people you're seeing from time to time or don't have such a deep relationship with. Yeah. What's your experience with networking apart from this? Because obviously we do have our first business it's literally a network. That's how it's in the name of the business. It's called the PP network. So that's something we have some experience with. And I would say that a lot of the success of the business came from our good relationships with our clients and the way we were managing people, despite it being very superficial in a way, but it's still establishing those relationships and these relationships helping us building our business. And what's your experience with this?
Well, you mentioned one of the points, our business, that it's basically a network. And as you said, like, it was you and I initially, afterwards, through all of these connections that we built, which is our network. We got our first graphic designer. We started getting some people on board. Casper, he's also like, funny story, but he was like, he was one of the first guys that I recruited for our business, like, to whom I sold our service. And it's funny that from a customer to a friend to a person like offering you a job, like all of these, like this cycle, it's just basically building those relationships. Some of them you build them more of a like more stable one, so that you just keep more of distant to your main circle. But my experience apart from that is, I think I have quite a rich experience with networking because of the industry which I'm interested in, investment banking, like finance, venture capital. This is an industry where networking is critical, like it's crucial. This is how you get capital at some point. This is how you reach out to other colleagues for help and so on. But as a student, I was reaching out to people through LinkedIn, through events that I was going to, like meeting some people and afterwards following up, in order to get to know more about their job, about the industry, and as a person who is very knowledgeable, to understand if it's something that I like. So my experience is that since day one here at university, I was very actively going outside my comfort zone, meeting people and trying to build some kind of relationships, and afterwards trying to, follow up and actually show interest that I have. But it was more of knowledge points, not that much, okay, I need something from you.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, and that's because if you see other people as, I guess, someone you can learn from, it's much easier, I think, to build the relationship. So if you see them as someone you have immediate value from by asking questions, just being interested in what they do, if you see that first interaction with them in this way, then it's very easy to build a relationship which you can then, I guess, but reciprocate in different ways. So for example, you build a relationship, let's say you have a friendship relationship, and then in the case with Casper, that turns out into something more in the future. So I think this curiosity of the other person initially, which I think we've mentioned it before, the fastest way to learn, I think, is through other people. So this curiosity and this asking of questions builds a relationship. You get knowledge from that person. You also get, the human interaction, and then that transitions to something else. So I guess that was your experience as well in a way. And
you mentioned something interesting, that you start building a friendship, and this is probably one of the most common advices that I've got from people who are more experienced with networking, who are always saying, look at these people as your friends. Not your closest friends, but people that you would reach out to once in a while just to check on them. How are they doing? And don't see it only as I need to benefit from them, because it's going to be felt in the conversations, in the way you reach out to them. And people don't like to be used. Even if they're more experienced, let's see a banker or somebody who's busy. Or let's say with the case of our second venture, that we were meeting people to learn from them. Like they want to have also such people in their network, because in like us. So meeting them, starting to build a relationship is also interesting for them to some extent. If it's
definitely
in this way.
They're also asking you questions to, kind of get to know you better. And you build this trust relationship. And also, I think that was from my personal experience when I first came in UK to study. I was seeing this as a very superficial relationship. I mean, all the networking events, and you're building these superficial relationships, which for me back then didn't make much sense. And then I realized it doesn't have to be like this. We can go to an event or contact someone to just ask him a few business questions, but then once you meet up, you can actually build a genuine relationship. It doesn't have to be like this. And I had this strong idea in my mind that this is very superficial, so I wasn't doing it that much, I would say, at all. But then, as I said, with more interaction with people, I realized, I'm actually making friends in the process.
I have a quick question. Where do you think is how do you think people can meet other people? If you're interested in something, what are the ways to reach out to people and to find them?
Well, I think a good thing to do is always use social media, and let's say LinkedIn. That's where you can find people interested in the same sector you are. And it's very convenient. People know why you're reaching out to them. It's not like some weird guy texting you on Instagram, sliding into your DMs. I think there's a difference. So I would say LinkedIn would be my first choice to meet someone in this, kind of professional manner and build on a better friendship, trust relationship from there.
Yeah.
And then you would have a lot of, let's say, groups on Facebook, let's say. So again, social media, which I would use, I used for our new venture to just say in the group, okay, I'm looking for people interested in this thing. I want to speak with them, ask them a few questions. And if we can hopefully meet up. That was before Corona, of course. So I would say social media is a big one. The next big one would be events, but then now you can't really use events, can you? So
but they're gonna get back to normal, especially since today everything is opening. Like not everything, but most of the stuff. Yeah.
So you can use events, and I would say the third thing is, I would say university and other knowledge gatherings. So I would say university is a huge. I remember before I came to uni. Someone told me, I think it was my dad who told me that there's a research made on university students. So the biggest benefit of university, people graduating were saying is the network they've built.
Yeah.
So not graduating, but graduates or like professionals at 40, 50 years of age, they were saying the network is my biggest benefit from university. And I think that's what you hear from a lot of successful people like Reid Hoffman as well, was saying. I mean, you can explain that better because I guess you made a big impact on you. You've been mentioning it a few times now. But yeah, I remember from the podcast I listened to that he was saying, my biggest, I guess, factor for success was the network I had and the people I knew.
Yeah, I have something that I've put down on my notes from this podcast. So it's basically a podcast. It's a commencement speech. What's it called like that? All of these.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was Reid Hoffman about the class of 2020, and he was describing, like he was giving advice, and one of the main ones was network. You should build your network, and he said that this has been one of the things that impacted the most his like success and what Reid Hoffman is now. And he said things can change completely and they change fast over and over. Our success depends on how we respond to good and bad stuff, and if you invest in your network, you will be in a better position to spot it. So listen to your allies, believe in your network, especially in times with uncertainty. That is basically what's the current situation. But he said that like your network is the people that can spot stuff. Your network is the people that can, as Casper, invite you for opportunities. So you need to be surrounded by people and invest in such networks, you know, just to be in a better position for success. And he's stating how important it is to have a strong network, because otherwise you're lost. And we discussed this with you, that even if you're the most successful person, like it's a very controversial person to discuss in this podcast, but like a very rich person in Bulgaria, he has some problems with the government and stuff. Like he's very, very rich. He's a billionaire, I think. Having those problems with the government, a corrupted country, he's like left with nothing. And he goes to Dubai, and in an interview he's saying, it's my network that's keeping me alive now, like the people that I know, my friends, my allies. And you know, if you analyze this case of this person without a network, he's nothing when something bad happens.
Yeah, and I guess they made him successful in the first place, so that's a very good point. I think another very good point that you made is, I guess Reid Hoffman's point is seeing your network as a driver for new opportunities, and this led me to a point Jordan Peterson makes, which is you should see the impact you're making and the things you're saying influencing people, influencing the world and society in a wave-like manner. So what he means by this is, let's say you are able to influence 1,000 people to do something. Then those 1,000 people would influence another 1,000 people, and then this grows exponentially. So his point, well, I guess
it's more of the
regress
outside.
back. Yeah, exactly, but to regress back to how this is related to networking, in the same way as you have waves, I guess, spreading out, in the same way, if you know the right person, this person might know another 100 and he can refer you to someone else. So in my experience, so I met this developer for our new venture maybe a few months ago, and I was explaining to him what our idea was. And he realized he actually worked on the same thing with one of his clients. He had hundreds of clients before. He realized he worked on this with one of his clients, and it was exactly the same idea. And then he gave him his contact details. And then I contacted this person, and I was able to collect information from this person and build up, I guess, I would say a strong relationship with him for a first interaction. And that was very beneficial for us in building our venture now. So in the same way as you have 1,000 people which you can influence, then they can influence another 1,000 people, and then you can have an impact on the entire world. In the same way, you can know one person which knows another, let's say 100 or 1,000 people that he can refer to you, and then by building one good relationship, you get exposed to a multitude of opportunities. So I think that was a very good point of Reid Hoffman, of seeing your network as creating new opportunities for yourself as well.
I agree. It's like an interconnection of networks. You meet somebody and it opens all these doors that he has already built. And okay, I want to make something a very interesting point, going back to what you said, social media. And you said that you don't see LinkedIn you don't see Instagram as a good source. However, I have a counter argument for this. So like I was listening to podcasts and I identified very interesting individuals. One of her, there are two venture capitalists that were interviewed by Tim Ferriss. And on their LinkedIn, they're very popular. Like they have thousands of followers. However, their Instagrams are very tiny. Like they have 2,000 or 3,000 of followers and they're posting actively. It's like a personal page. And it seems that it's a good way through which you can reach out to this person, right? Like slide into the DMs and say something, like try to build a personal relation. If you're following this person for some time, hello, like your baby is very cute or something like this. Oh, this baby is very cute. XYZ, like try to have like a conversation, something like this. And then, start building up on your interests, asking them different stuff. And this goes back to a point of Tim Ferriss, which I wanted to ask you about, reaching out to famous people, that many people are scared of doing so. So would you mind, like, I don't know how detailed it was, but can you tell us a bit more about it?
Yeah, sure. So he had this experiment. He was lecturing either in Stanford or Harvard, I can't remember, but he was lecturing entrepreneurs, future entrepreneurs, in an entrepreneurship class, I guess. And he had a task for them. So the task was whoever contacts the most, I guess, famous, influential person in the next, let's say, 2 weeks, I can't remember the exact period, wins, I guess it was a ticket, a plane ticket for whichever country, they want to. And he said the first year he did this, no one did it. He was like, why did no one do it? I want to know why. So he started asking these students, why didn't you do it? And he said there were a lot of excuses. Most of them were it's too difficult. There would probably be someone else who is going to do it better than me. And they weren't expecting anyone to answer. Yeah. So he said it's a lot more, easier to do this than people think. So the second year he approached the group differently and explained that it's not that difficult. He tackled, I guess, the problems in advance, explained to them why it's not that good, or why this could work. And then he got people contacting, I can't remember. I think, it was very, very powerful people. It was like, I guess, people from, the top 100 richest people in the world. But what they did as students, they got their emails from ex-lecturers of these people. Then they would contact them. And their approach was very personal as well. That was Tim Ferriss' point. Like, don't go straight for the kill. Don't go for, getting value out of the person. But just ask them something you're actually curious of. Like, you heard that person in the podcast, let's say. So just ask them, okay, I heard you make this very good point. They're very interesting for me. And ask them about them. Then you build a bit of a relationship. And then if you want to ask something specific, go ahead. But that's the way he thought you should approach these people. And I do agree.
Yeah, so like the whole thing is that even those famous people or like very influential, there is no point to be scared of reaching out to them. Yeah. Because, you're just a regular person, or the only difference that she or he is much more busier than others. And there is, like, you don't lose anything.
And there's no competition as well. Like, you think the competition is a lot bigger than it actually is, because people don't... First of all, it's very difficult to find the email, and no one tries to find their emails or contact details because no one thinks they're going to respond. So... I agree. Like, we made very good points. The only thing that I would add is that it's not going to work all the time. Sometimes, in all of those events, reaching out to people on LinkedIn, email, as the case of Tim Ferriss, they might not respond, or the person you meet might not be that friendly. It doesn't work, but this doesn't mean that you have to stop. This is what your network is, to find those people that you want to surround yourself with and leverage on this network. Yeah, I do agree. And I think that is I guess it also, I guess it's the final point that you shouldn't be discouraged from this.
Yeah.
Do you want to jump into our second topic then?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so our second topic is the topic of leadership, and I guess we have some experience with this, not too much, since we are quite young, I would say. So we do need a bit more experience, but I think it's still something very interesting to discuss. And yeah, the first thing I wanted to bring up is I recently did this product management course, which one of the main topics of this course was leadership. And I think they made some very interesting points on this, which I wanted to speak with you about and ask you what do you think?
Cool. Okay.
So I'll quickly go through. What I'll do is I'll read all of them, and then we can comment on the one which you think is most interesting and the one you think would be most valuable to discuss.
All right. Cool. Yeah.
Okay. So it's 8. Yeah, it's 8 points. 8 points on ways to become a better leader. Okay, so the first one is understand yourself as a leader. Know your limits, strengths, and needs. Involve your teammates in helping you improve. Be flexible and reflect on past practices. That's point number 1. Second is motivate your teams. Give recognition. Respect teammates' opinion. Don't micromanage. Treat people fairly. Point 3 would be creative. Be open to trying new things. Offer your team opportunities and challenges. Be open to others' ideas. Have fun. 4 is act like a role model. Tackle jobs that no one else wants to do. Work like there is not task below you, which means if you have to clean the floor, clean the floor.
Yeah.
Point number 5 is stay connected to your emotions. Empathy. Respond instead of react. Take nothing personally. Solutions-oriented attitude. 6 is act with humility. Accept your failures as lessons for learning. Be accountable. 7 is show passion for what you do. Positive and enthusiastic. And the final one, 8, is communicate, but also listen. So right. I don't know how much of this were you able to, I guess, pick out, but what do you think?
I was even putting notes because, like, I thought they're gonna be short points, but no. So you asked me which one I think is the very interesting one. I think that the one about communicate, but listen is a crucial one. And if you want, we can discuss it shortly and then jump into other ones as well.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so why I think it's an important, like an interesting point is because I also checked a lecture in Y Combinator a long time ago from a person that is very, very experienced in leadership. It's Ali Roughani. He was CFO of Pixar and CFO and COO of Twitter. So he was exposed to Steve Jobs and Jack Dorsey, great leaders. Mm-hmm. And he's been in such roles for 20 years. So he's very experienced. And he said that there are like 3 common qualities of leaders, and one of them was communication, but clear and simple communication. So why I think it's very important is because of that. And he gave an example of Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon. For those of you that don't know him, but the richest person in the world, I doubt you don't. It's
like if you don't know who Brad Pitt is, or it's like asking.
Yeah. Who's Brad Pitt, by the way?
Yeah. He's an indie actor.
Nice.
Indie actor. He's gonna be big, man.
Cool.
He's gonna be big.
Cool beans, as Casper says. But it was Jeff Bezos' statement, and he was trying to illustrate what simple communication is. And he said, we have 3 goals as a company. We've had these goals since day one. And they're based on what customers will always want. This is more selection, like wider selection of products. B, lower prices. And C, faster delivery. And you see, like, this is very simple, very, very straightforward, straight to the point. It's a simple communication, which is going down the whole company in terms of like people knowing what they have to do. It's, I don't know what other way to describe it, but very, very concise and kind of like describing a very, very big idea, which is the company's, strategy in 2 sentences.
Yeah. Just a point on this is that in my course there's an interview with successful product managers, and there was one with a VP. I can't remember in which company, so I'll link this up in the caption. But what he was saying basically is, I think the most difficult thing for a leader to do is to translate the vision of the company to the employees and everyone in the across the structure of the company. So it's very difficult. And what he was saying is, you need to find the correct way, the correct words to express it in a simplistic way. You need to find arguments, I guess, which are easy to convey and distribute. And the final thing would be, he said, just repeat it over and over again, which is a very practical thing to do. I think a very practical tip. Just repeat what the vision is. So you said low prices, options, and fast delivery, which is convenience. Yeah. I can bet my head that Jeff Bezos is repeating this over and over in each of his interviews in front of the media. Probably. Because he's conveying this to his employees as well.
And I would add something this. I would bet my head with that he spent a lot of time thinking about this. About the simple goal and simple way of communicating them. And I agree with what you said, that you have to communicate it. And it's also because people are going to be following you. So in order for them to understand you, like seeing it from their point of view, you have to be helping them do so. Not to make it very complicated and to relying on them to understand you. No, make sure that you convey those stuff in a simple way so that you make sure that they understand what you're saying. And in other words, leading to the results. And you know that this guy, he gave a very practical advice of how, if you're a leader, or it's applicable to a wider audience, you can improve your communication in make it more simple, is by practicing just thinking about stuff. And you sit down and you start discussing with yourself a topic or a point. And it's something that I've actually been doing. I realized while reading Marcus Aurelius, which is what the Abstract Apes have been discussing as well, podcast for our friends, we're gonna link it. But I've been reading, and at the same time, when I find something more interesting, just discuss it in my head. Okay, why did he say this? What are his arguments? And I'm having those conversations, which is what the practice is about.
Yeah, it's a bit like there's a terminology of the observer in you is just looking at the way you think about something and then asking questions why you think of this thing in this way. And then you can convey it better to people. And I think it's an interesting point, which you said, is just to think on the way to convey it best to everyone in a company, a point to everyone in a company. And I was thinking about great spokespeople and how they are always described as the people's person. That's the same way they describe great politicians. It's like everyone loved that person, and I think a lot of it comes from language and the way you express yourself and trying to connect with all the people in your company. So I think it's a very important point to communication. It's just know your audience and communicate it in the right way to that audience.
Yeah, which I agree.
Bezos does with these 3 simple points.
And on the other hand, as you said, the other point is listen, which is also important. It's not only about, but we touched on this kind of in the last episode, that you have to understand what people are saying so that you improve your point of view in one way or on another, which happens only through listening.
Yeah, exactly. I would even go further and say that communication, which is, the statement is communicate, and also listen. Communication, I think, consists, a big part of it is listening. I would say even a major part of it. Yeah. And then you're highlighting listening on its own. So I guess the highlight of this is just listen as much as you can. So you can, but also talk, of course, and communicate it in the right way.
Yeah, which is important for leaders. Okay. What are the points you mentioned that we can discuss one or two more and then wrap it up.
Let's discuss one more. We can leave the rest for
Another
a different episode. Let's keep it short and concise this time.
Yeah, it's already around 40 minutes, so it's fine. What to discuss? I'll give you a shot. You decide what you think because you saw it, and which one you think is most important. Not most important, but good to discuss.
Yeah, let me give... Okay, so I think it's very important to... Like the first one was understand yourself as a leader. I think that's a very important one, and all of the other ones would come out from this self-awareness of where your weaknesses and where your strengths. And if you want to improve as a leader, you need to know in which dimensions you lack and which dimensions you should improve on to just have a stable basis. And then you should also, I think, know your strengths very well, which I was thinking about it recently. I mean, I'm always kind of self-analyzing. I'm analyzing myself, and trying to find where my weaknesses are so I can improve on them. But something I haven't done too much is find out what my strengths are and then capitalize on them. I guess I was doing that throughout my life with, choosing a degree which I'm good at and stuff like that. But I've been lacking. I haven't been doing this recently. So I was thinking, okay, that's actually very important. And then seeing this point in my course made me realize, okay, to be a good leader, you need to know what you're good at and then, lead by capitalizing on this strengths of yours. And then, but also you should know what your weaknesses are, because if there are these massive holes in your personality, massive flaws in your personality, then you have to fix those as well, at least to a tolerable level. Let's say Steve Jobs, he was a weird guy. Everyone knows he had a lot of arguments with his employees, for example.
Yeah.
So, but he managed to, I guess, keep himself straight enough to create great products and a great brand. So I think he's an example of, you have this weakness, which is, I guess, your temperament. Can be considered a weakness. I'm not saying it's necessarily a weakness. Maybe that's what made him successful. But you have this weakness, and then you're working on this just so you don't get into, I guess, the extremes of your weaknesses.
Yeah. I would say that he was very passionate, which is what led to his attitude. I don't accept it. It's not something that I'm praising of being very, very aggressive with your employees, like throwing shoes at them and so on. But to your stuff, I would say build on your strengths, which is coming from the effective executive. You should always build on your strengths. You should then delegate the other stuff, like your weaknesses, to other people. And this goes to Marcus Aurelius as well. When there was the plague, he invited the most knowledgeable people in the country to discuss it and how to tackle it, because he wasn't sure of how to do it. It was a weakness of his. So as a great leader, he knew that, and he tried to do whatever's needed in order to lead to the best outcome, which consisted of inviting, getting people on board that can contribute.
Yeah, I agree. And I guess that's what experts are for, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, to tackle all of this.
Yeah, I want to say just one last thing. I think that I also have some good points, so we can also discuss leadership in the next episode. But this Ali Rogvani, his conclusion marks were, you as a leader, you need to be great leaders are, their measurement of greatness is measured by the amount of trust they have from other people, from customers, from colleagues, from shareholders. And he said that there are two types of trust. One of them is facts-based, which is basically analyzing the data and, getting the best arguments, which he said is the easy way of getting trust. And the other one is integrity.
Nice. Yeah, I like this.
He said that you have to, be always seeing stuff as opportunities to build trust. And whenever a challenging situation happens, don't see it, okay, this is very challenging, it's very hard. There are many benefits you're going to learn, but also see it as, okay, that's an opportunity for me to build trust within my company, which a great leader must do, because after building that trust, he's going to be followed. Otherwise, if you're a simple communicator, if you are, what we discussed, very strong, if you have strengths, which was the first point you mentioned, if people don't trust you, it's not gonna work.
Yeah, I agree completely, and I think that's part of relationship building, I guess, as well. And it's
Yes.
if you cannot be trusted in critical situations, then I mean I don't think you're gonna be a leader for long. I mean, one of the most essential parts of being a leader is leading your team through difficult situations. It's easy to lead, I think, in when everything's going right. It's
Also, it's like in when everything is going right, you have many chances to get things wrong. If you don't have the integrity, if you're not a noble person that is kind of like being there for his own personal benefit.
That's true. But if everyone is if everyone is benefiting from the results of the environment, let's say, just because the market is going up, your company is doing well, everyone's getting huge bonuses. So even if you lack in integrity, it might not be that obvious for everyone else just because they're focused on results.
Yes, I like very interesting thing. All of these big scandals with companies, and especially now with Wirecard, have you seen it?
Mm-hmm. No.
Like it was tech company in Germany that's doing like payments, I think, and they were growing very fast. Even when I was doing my internship last summer, they invested in the company and they were following it very actively. It was, high potential in it. Eventually, they found out there were 2 billion missing from their statements. This was fake money, and everybody until that point of time believed the leader. Good point. But afterwards, when things go to hell, he's fired, and because he lacked he lacked the integrity of being like a person that's, caring about the company in overall and making the best of it, which is what led to him not being a leader anymore, which is what you said. You have to, like, if you're not trusted, you're not going to be a leader in the long term.
Yeah, exactly. And a very short point to end this with. I think you should be very extreme with this integrity bit. So what I mean by this is, even if no one's watching, try to be your best and do the right thing, because results wise, I think just results wise, not looking at, doing the right thing and principles, I think this affects your self-esteem, and you're someone who cannot be trusted, and then this would affect your behavior with other people as well and in your work and stuff. So it's the same way as, I think I've mentioned this before, if you tell yourself I'm gonna do this today, but you don't do this today, then for me at least, I feel bad. I feel my self-esteem would drastically decrease because my self-evaluation goes down. I evaluate myself as someone who cannot be trusted because I'm making this contract with myself, so to speak. If I say I'm gonna do this today, but I don't do it, then I'm like, I don't trust myself that I'm capable of executing. So yeah,
and this is what this guy Ali Rogvani said. Like, you have to do stuff and speak thinking that, am I gonna be embarrassed if I do this or say this in front of everybody else in my company? Which is integrity as well. All right.
Yeah.
So
just a final point. I want to mention the course of Cole Mercer. That's what the course. That's who's the creator of the course, because I guess
your course.
Yeah, we use that as a fundament for everything we discussed. So Cole Mercer, the course is called. There are 3 courses basically, but just write down Cole Mercer Product Manager.
But we're gonna link it as well.
We're gonna link that as well. But yeah, it's something to bring up. The guy was a product manager at SoundCloud,
cool.
and created a very interesting course.
References in essays. Okay, cool. So yeah, I mean, this was the episode for today. It was the 10th episode, and we wanted to do something more interesting, but we're gonna keep this for probably next episode. So stay tuned. And it feels good to be back, I must say. It feels good to have these chats and speak about these topics, and I don't know.
Yeah, man. It's good. It's good. It's also exciting. It's exciting because we're back. I like it.
Yes, I'm grateful that my laptop is back and you're moving into another flat. I'm moving to London soon, so these podcasts will be changing, evolving, and
definitely. I have a final question for the audience. I'm interested to hear you guys. What do you think from the points, or even from your own experience, what do you think is the most essential quality of a good leader, and why? Leave that in the comment section, or even text us on our Instagram profile, and we can even upload the best answers.
Yeah. Nice idea. Cool. Okay. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.